Now it's time for The Beat, when we take a look at the week's big news in music.
And it appears that losing weight could be as easy as attending a music festival. It's all those hot dogs. For more, we're joined by Sydney by Triple J presenter Zan Rowe. Zan, good morning. Please tell me that public money hasn't gone into researching this particular theory, has it?
Well, not our public money. This has actually been conducted by a tech firm in the UK called Withings, and they've calculated certain maps and I guess the time of certain festivals in the UK to see just how good they can be for you. This is coming off the back of Glastonbury, which is a huge festival. It really becomes a city on this major farm in England. And they've calculated that at Glastonbury, the average punter would burn about 9,000 calories across the 3 days. If you've ever seen images of Glastonbury, you know there's quite a lot of mud. There's a lot of walking involved, and that obviously would burn a lot of energy. But things like setting up your tent and, of course, dancing would burn a lot of calories as well. Interestingly, when they were pipping each festival against one another, the dance festivals were more healthy for you because you're more likely to dance to acts than rock festivals or, I guess, more ambient festivals. And it's also pretty interesting, I think, for people who are about to head to our own kind of mini Glastonbury, Splendour in the Grass, which happens at the end of this month. It's a 3-day festival. Anybody thinking that maybe it was a bit unhealthy with all the goslemmies they're about to eat, just look at it as a health retreat. I love this research that's gone on in the UK. I feel so much better about my life choices now.
A health retreat at dance festivals. Wow, I think my head really is exploding. I assume they didn't drug test all these kids on the way out, right?
That's another study, Virginia.
Yeah.
That's another study.
And let's see if that's so good for you. Now, talk to me about this new law in Finland that allows people to claim a refund if they find the concerts less than satisfactory. How on earth do you moderate this?
Well, this is more of a ruling that's been handed down than law, but it does set a precedent because a judge has just found, or a chairman of actually a board called the Finnish Consumer Disputes Board, has found that attendees at a Chuck Berry gig in 2013 were right in their request to ask for a refund and should be refunded 50% of their ticket price because on the night of the performance, Chuck Berry was ill and didn't perform up to scratch. Now, this ruling does open up a lot of people's dissatisfaction with gigs and, you know, I think that sickness is a decent excuse. He was careful to note that illness was the reason in this case, the Chuck Berry case, but things like inebriation shouldn't affect you asking for a refund because he did note that plenty of musicians have performed drunk and that hasn't affected their performance in the years past. It's a really interesting ruling, though, I think, because I'm sure that everyone's been to a bit of a dodgy gig. And for me, you know, I go to some incredible shows that are far beyond my expectations, and then sometimes they fall short. But I think that art is art. Sometimes if you're having a bad day and if you happen to have it in front of 1,000 or 3,000 people, it's just bad luck. Asking for a refund, unless the person is lying down flat on the ground and not giving you anything, could be a bit much. But we'll see what happens in Finland. We'll watch that closely.
I think also, Zan, that changes over time. What seemed like a really bad performance at that moment, history and time can alter that, and you reflect on it and think, well, that was actually a really significant moment in that artist's career when they changed direction. Bob Dylan is the example that comes to mind when, remember, half the audience walked out when he turned electric, but now that was seen as sort of one of the great moments of his career. So you've got to have a bit of perspective, I think, in this as well.
Absolutely. They're the ones that are memorable sometimes.
Yeah. And Zan, this musician has announced an Australian tour next year, so everyone stand back, have a listen.
Because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall.
Those irascible, prattish Gallagher brothers. But Noel is actually heading down under.
Yeah, Noel, who wrote that song Wonderwall, which has been a huge hit and continues to be loved to this day, also has a solo career and he's no stranger to Australia. He loves it here, so no surprises in the last few days when he announced post-Glastonbury that he's planning on taking his tour around the world and will be visiting Australia in early 2016. I welcome it just because Noel likes to mouth off about just about everything. So any chance to hear him give his opinion is a welcome one in my book.
So how do you like the idea of a Trioli v Gallagher matchup?
I think that's a really good idea. I think you should definitely have him on the couch.
Okay. I reckon I'd give a Glasgow kiss as good as he could. And finally, Foo Fighters frontman David Grohl has returned to the stage as well.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He broke his leg on stage in Gothenburg in Sweden, and he has returned, despite doctor's orders, with 6 screws in his leg and that cast still on for a special reason. Of course, it was the 4th of July weekend in the States over the weekend. Foo Fighters had a Washington, D.C. concert scheduled, and it was also their 20th anniversary, and he wasn't going to let that stop him get up on stage. He apparently designed this ridiculous-looking Game of Thrones style rock throne that he would sit on, adhering to doctor's orders that he needs to keep his leg elevated. He did that while still rocking out and sharing with us the news that he did think of that chair while he was on painkillers. So you can't keep Dave Grohl away from the stage, and I'm sure that a lot of people were pretty happy to see him, even if he wasn't able to stand and rock out with everybody else.
You wouldn't ask for your money back from that one.